Welcome to the Informed Simplicity Project, a place for learners, and this is an ISP short. Today we're going to be reviewing my recent interview with Eri Vlass. Eri Vlass is, quite frankly, the best therapist we have on record, and as I was reviewing the episode, preparing it for the podcast, there were a few things that stood out to me. One of the things that she's attributes her incredible outcomes to is her ability to be fully present with clients. She says this really leads to clients feeling safe in her office. At least that's my understanding of what she's saying. I think there's a lot that goes into this, a lot that we don't really think about and talk about in therapy. We get so focused on techniques that we don't really think about how the state of the therapist is influencing the actual process of therapy. And so I wanted to give 3 thoughts on what this has to mean, some of the sort of implications from what it means to give someone your full attention. First, I think the first thing is this has to mean that Eri feels incredibly safe with herself. Her internal state is incredibly relaxed and calm. This also means that by default she's turned off the orienting reflex. So the orienting reflex is what we do whenever we feel a little bit activated, whenever there's a little bit of anxiety, whenever we're not fully in what Stephen Porges would call safe and social, but when we're sort of in a little bit of fight or flight. You can tell when people aren't turning off the orienting reflex because they will orient to things in their environment. So for me, the other day I was outside talking to a friend on the sort of work patio, and someone came up on the walking path, and I turned my head to look at the person that was coming because I had caught a glimpse of them out the corner of my eye. I was orienting to that person, which also means I wasn't fully engaged with the person who I was talking to, with my coworker. This is incredibly important. It's only when we feel free to give up hypervigilance that we can then give someone our full attention. And that requires us to feel really safe inside of ourselves. This also requires us to feel safe in our environments. All environments are not conducive to this. I used to do in-home therapy, and at times it was very uncomfortable. Even simple things like cleanliness or being in a place that's too hot, or just having people walk in and out constantly of sessions. I didn't feel relaxed or safe enough to turn off hypervigilance, and so I wasn't able to turn off the orienting response. So I think that's the second part. It's not just that she feels safe with herself, but her environment is safe enough. I think that this also leads to an inevitable sort of conclusion. The client must also feel safe enough in their environment to turn off the orienting response, to relax into the conversation with you. And I think this is one of the big hang-ups that I have about telehealth. I do it. It'll probably be a standard part of my practice from this point moving forward. But I do think it's limited in certain ways, largely because I can't control the client's context. The other day I was talking to a client who sent their kids outside so we could have safety and quiet in the session. But kids kept coming in maybe 2 or 3 times to get water, to get this, to get that. When that's kind of going on in the background, I think it's fundamentally antithetical to creating the sort of safety that we need for the client to turn off their orienting response and to fully engage with me as the therapist. And so those are the 3 big takeaways I have from my interview with Eri Vlass. 1, she feels safe enough within inside herself to give up hypervigilance and to turn off the orienting response. 2, her context is one that's safe enough to promote that. And 3, clients also have to feel safe enough in order for them to give up their orienting response and fully engage with us. Without these three factors, I don't know if the type of deep presence that Eri credits her outcomes to is possible. So that's what I would invite you guys to do this week, to think about how and what you can do to create that level of safety within yourself and within your context. All right. If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to subscribe and tell at least one friend. Have a good one.